Well, it's been a little bit since we had any news on X-Men 97, but it's Comic-Con weekend, and it's a great time to get some news about Professor X and his status in the upcoming series. Let's dive in. Well, following last year's SDCC, we were all tuned up for X-Men 97 to hit Disney Plus this year. But unfortunately, over the last couple of months, it's been made very clear it's not going to happen anytime very soon. And with Marvel Studios skipping out of SDCC, well, we're not really expecting any kind of date. We have been getting a lot of merchandise news, as all the toys land in stores, giving us a bit of a look at the show, but really no actual news. Now we have a very interesting update on Professor X, but this doesn't come from Marvel Studios or showrunner Bo DeMeo, so we want to take it with a grain of salt, but it does come from a rather reliable scooper. Can we get some toast? Now, a lot of speculation surrounds what the status of Professor X is when X-Men 97 kicks off. We do know Magneto has put aside some of his more villainous ways and is working with the mutant team. But we still don't really know the status of Charles Xavier, and honestly, that was the big show-ending cliffhanger. Well, according to the report, Charles Xavier supposedly has recovered from those injuries and has led him to being taken into outer space by the Shiar Empire. Now, according to Can We Get Some Toast, he's currently romantically involved with Empress Lilandra, which is something if you're a fan of the comics, you should be pretty familiar with. He also revealed that Professor X in this season will actually don his Shiar armor. This suggests the character could be seeing quite a bit more action than he typically did in previous seasons, and it would be quite a treat for fans to see him once again not wheelchair bound. The armor itself is pretty interesting, but at its core, it is a psionically driven exoskeleton allowing Professor X to walk, and sometimes a couple of other gadgets and gizmos that obviously alien technology would enable. How much we see of the suit, I'm still not too sure, but just adding it to the show is a big nod to some classic X-Men history. Now, it sounds like a lot of love, research, and dedication has gone into doing these characters justice during a revival, and I think it has something to do with the development team, and specifically something head writer Bo DeMeo had previously said. During an interview a couple months ago, he said, "My general rule was you had to be a fan, no questions. I've been on a show, namely The Witcher, where some of the writers were not or actively disliked the books and games and even actively mocking the source material. It's a recipe for disaster and bad morale. Fandom as a litmus test check egos and makes all the long nights worth it. You have to respect the work before you're allowed to add to its legacy." That last line from DeMeo is absolutely key here. You have to respect the work before you're allowed to add to the legacy. And it sounds like, especially with Charles Xavier, they really are doing exactly that. Now, this news about Professor X having his Shiar armor, returning to action, and DeMeo's take on working on the show only add to my excitement. I am disappointed Marvel Studios is not at SDCC to give us a release date, but I do suspect with all the high-profile news coming out at the show that within the next week or two, we will indeed get some announcement from Marvel Studios in sort of a marketing attempt to overshadow other announcements that will come out this weekend. When we finally get to see X-Men 97, well, we're gonna have to wait and see.